Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 46 of Duke's Download. I am so honored to have the mayor of Long Beach, Robert Garcia, who is currently a candidate for U.S. Congress from California's 42nd District, joining us today. He's a huge rising star in the Democratic Party, and he's done an amazing job as mayor of Long Beach for the last 8 years. So I'm truly honored to have him on today. Thank you all for all the support so far. You've all been amazing. I can't believe that we've done 46 episodes so far. Totally surreal. But if you guys ever have any suggestions for more guests, please let me know. You can DM me and give me your thoughts and suggestions on who we might be able to have on. I'm just going to wait for the mayor here. He should be on any minute now. Like I said, if you're not familiar with Mayor Garcia, he's an openly gay, 44-year-old Latino candidate for Congress. He's truly one of the rising stars in the Democratic Party today. He's super close to President Biden and Vice President Harris, and I think he could very well, first of all, let's get him elected to Congress. But after that, I really think he could do anything in the future. He's one of the most talented and bright and charismatic candidates for office out there. Let's just see if he is on yet. I'm going to give him a second. Kate Bush is a good idea, by the way. I saw somebody in the comments suggest Kate Bush as a guest. I don't know her or don't have a connection to her, but I could probably figure that one out somehow. Let's see. Let me see if the mayor's on yet. I don't think he is at this moment, but he will be in a second. Brian Sims, I actually interviewed last year or right before the 2020 election. He's another great candidate. He's running for lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania, and he's a state representative already. The mayor is on. Let me see. I'm going to send him a request. Invite. Mayor,
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect. Everything's
Okay.
perfect.
Okay,
Thank you
great.
so
Great, great.
much. I'm so honored to talk to you. And as you probably already know, I'm a big admirer of yours and a big fan. So thanks for taking the time.
Happy to do it. Good to see you.
Good to see you. No, like I said, I'm a huge fan, and obviously I've followed you for quite a while now, and I'm so thrilled that you're running for Congress. I definitely want to ask you about what your policies are for the future, but I thought we'd start maybe by you, if you would, talking a little about what you've accomplished in Long Beach over the last 8 years, because you've done a lot. Like for you, in the last 8 years, what are some of the things that you're most proud of from your tenure?
Yeah, well, first, good to join you, obviously. Also a fan of. I know you're really involved in not just West Hollywood, but you're also very involved across the region. So happy to talk to you, and I'm glad that you're uplifting LGBTQ plus voices. So really, really important stuff.
Thank you.
I think
Thank you.
for me, I'm really proud, obviously, of being mayor for the last now almost 8 years. I could have run for re-election. Of course, when the seat opened up, I think there was an opportunity to think about what was next for our country and for the community I represent. Being mayor of Long Beach, when I got elected, I was the first gay person ever elected and the first person of color elected mayor in Long Beach. And so that was a big change, I think, for the community. But I think because I also, was a little younger than maybe most of the mayors in the past, I brought a different perspective. I think we moved the city absolutely in a progressive direction. We really focused on supporting new people coming into government. We made sure that the government was reflective of the community. For the first time in history, I appointed about 300 directors and officers to the city, and for the first time, there were more women than men served, and
Wow.
brought people from all across the community. And we focused on the big issues. For us was economic development. I think if you go down anywhere across Long Beach, you see a lot of progress as it relates to housing and development and modernization. Obviously, climate work, making sure that the port, which traditionally have been huge concerns around air quality, become cleaner. and focus on things like just tech and getting the city up to speed on using the latest technology to reach out to people and to bring people in. We did a lot of LGBTQ work. One of the first things I heard is that the city wasn't providing, for example, trans-inclusive healthcare, so we changed that, so that folks that were trans within the city could actually get their health needs addressed. And so we did a lot, I think, in these last 7 years. Park expansion, supportive of, I think, creative ways of supporting the arts and the community. And so we're really proud of that. I feel like this is the best job I could ever have, is being mayor of your hometown. But I'm happy to take this next step as well.
Now, I know Secretary Pete also was saying, has said how being mayor is such a great job. But I mean, it's like him. I mean, you've been in office for 8 years now. So I imagine, it must be exciting but sad to leave the old job, but also exciting for this new possibility. And you touched on how, how you were the first openly gay mayor of Long Beach. And obviously your run for Congress too is historic. The fact that you would be, I think, the first openly gay Latino member of Congress. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Right.
The first LGBTQ plus immigrant. We do have there is an Afro-Latino, Richie Torres in New York, who just got elected in the last cycle. So be the second LGBTQ plus Latino, but the first immigrant, I think.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, how much do you think about the historic historic nature of your candidacy? I mean, as someone who was interested in politics from a young age, I remember how much it meant to me to see people like Barney Frank and, but whether it be members of Congress or local politicians who were openly gay. Do you think about that, or how much is that a part of your decision? Was that a part of your decision to run?
It's not a huge part, honestly, of the decision to run, but I understand why it means something to a lot of people. Obviously, I want to be in Congress to represent everybody, but I think that because of who you are and the experiences you bring to the table, that absolutely has an impact. So I understand that because I am LGBTQ, because I am an immigrant, that impacts my worldview. While it's not central
I think you
to
were
why
disconnecting for a second.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Oh, you're back. You're back now.
Okay. Perfect. Great. I was saying that it's not central to why I'm running. I know it's an important part for a lot of folks, and I'm honored to kind of carry that representation into Congress as well. The truth is that right now there are 9 LGBTQ plus members of the U.S. House, we're vastly underrepresented in the House, and we have a couple members that honestly are in really tough re-election seats. So if elected, I could be the 10th, and that's what we're hoping for.
Absolutely. And so, obviously, there are so many important issues right now facing the country. But what are some of the issues that you're really focused on for you personally? What are your priorities, would you say?
Well, I mean, I think that from a congressional perspective, I think there's a couple of things. I think number one, I'm really focused on making sure that every kid gets the same opportunities that I feel like I got as an immigrant, especially. I always remind people that I came to the U.S. I was 5 years old, didn't have a lot growing up, but I became a citizen in my early 20s, and that really changed my life. And other immigrant kids like me, who maybe grew up poor, low income, family didn't maybe have an opportunity for education, deserve that same opportunity. We have 11 million immigrants in the United States, with right now real no pathway to citizenship for most folks. And this is a country that is built off of immigrants and has grown because we welcome people in. So this idea that we're going to close our doors from other folks, I think is so anti-American. And in fact, when people talk about patriotism in this country, patriotism is linked to our immigrant experience. It's immigrants that come here, that build a life, that build that love of country. And I would argue that some of the most patriotic people in this country are actually folks that immigrated to the U.S. and that actually had to fight for citizenship.
It is bizarre, and don't get me wrong, there are a lot of bad things that Ronald Reagan did when he was president. But my dad worked in the Reagan administration, and one thing that he always told me, and one thing that, you could even, if you watch old Reagan speeches from the 80s, was he would always talk about how the importance of immigration and how, critical immigrants were to the American dream. And I think there was one quote of his where he even said, and if the city on a hill has walls, there have to be big enough doors for anyone who has the will to get here to come, And so, I mean, it is really weird how the Republican Party has had this, bizarre and really sad transition over these last 20, 30 years on that issue.
It is totally it's really strange that it was Ronald Reagan who was the last president that actually signed an amnesty bill that allowed not just myself and my family, but so many immigrants of my generation to become citizens. And to go from that position on immigration to today, where it's not just about immigration, it's about people that are just different, and the attacks on anyone that could come from another country, I think is really sad. But you're right, that's a big, huge difference.
Yeah, it's and when it comes to the Democratic Party, one thing I really admire about you, and that I think you've done really well, is bridging a lot of the different sort of factions and divides within the Democratic Party, because there's obviously the very progressive wing, there's the center left wing, there's the more conservative, Joe Manchin-y type of wing, but you seem to have a really good relationship with all the different ideological factions. And so, I mean, has that been something that you've been conscious about trying to build, bridge the divide, or how do you think you've done that so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think it's different for everyone. I mean, for me, I feel like we're all on the same team, and as long as you value like democracy, support all people, you care about compassion and kindness. I mean, most folks we're all working on that together, and I think within the Democratic Party, I'm not a big fan of tearing other folks within our big tent down. I think that folks like President Biden is won us the presidency. He's an incredibly important voice in our country. He's the leader of the party. Now, I might disagree with him on a few things, and I wish he would cancel student debt, and I certainly wish that he would be a stronger supporter of Medicare for all people. But I value what he's doing for the country. He's appointed more federal judges in his first couple of years than I believe than many presidents before. He's turned around the economy. You think about the number of jobs created. He's actually appointing people that represent this country. So I'm going to support the president. And even when I might disagree with him on a policy, I think there's a way to disagree. At the same time, take someone like AOC. She's incredible. I know folks that may not agree with her on every issue. I think she is an incredibly important voice in our party, and I admire and respect what she's doing every single day, because she's fighting, and she is a voice for a lot of folks in our party that didn't feel like they had a voice. And so we should be able to both support and uplift folks like AOC, who are doing incredible work in this country, and folks like the president. And so I think I've tried to be supportive of all of us, even when we disagree. Now, take the Medicare issue. Mm-hmm. So, Medicare and healthcare seems to be a very divisive issue within our own party and in this country. I've been a supporter of Medicare for all since 2016, 2017, when it was an issue in the state. And I think oftentimes it's how we talk about issues that create the controversy versus what the issue is. The truth is that we already, as a country, we already support Medicare. Medicare already exists. Right. It works incredibly well for our seniors and older adults. So this idea that Medicare doesn't work is false. The broader question is, can we expand Medicare to cover everyone or as many people as possible? And I think if you talk about it in those terms, you can't disagree that Medicare already doesn't function in this country. You can't also, I think, have an argument that somehow healthcare should be dependent on where or if you work. Mm-hmm. And I think, so I think if you describe it that way, there are ways to talk about issues that might seem complex or radical that aren't very radical at all. Medicare for all is not radical. Medicare for all is a simple solution where the government can step in and ensure that every person, regardless of where they work or where they are in the working process, has actually access to good healthcare.
It absolutely, and it's so weird to me. I don't know why. I understand why, and I think maybe the Republican Party tries to overemphasize, the divides within the Democratic Party. But the truth is, I don't think there's any. I don't think being a pragmatist and being a progressive are mutually exclusive. I think,
That's right.
I think, as I think you basically said, yes, of course there are differences, but by and large, President Biden and AOC have a lot of common goals. And sort of, going back to what you were saying in terms of all of President Biden's accomplishments, of course, there's still a lot of things that we need to do. But as you said, a lot of the things that he has done very well have not gotten a lot of or as much attention in the media as they should get, whether it's federal judges. I mean, now the Supreme Court appointment's going to hopefully happen. But why do you think it is that maybe people aren't quite as aware of President Biden's accomplishments? And by the way, that goes for Speaker Pelosi, Senator Schumer. Why do you think maybe people aren't as aware of the Democratic Party's accomplishments so far this year?
I mean, I think a lot of it is also just the kind of media environment that we're in right now. I mean, there's so much misinformation. So I mean, there's a whole just industry that is focused on tearing down anything that President Biden says or anything that Democrats are doing, period. And it's a huge, and it's fueled by Fox News, and it's fueled by Newsmax, and all of these kind of extreme channels of communication. It used to be that if you opened up the newspaper, the LA Times here or the New York Times or what have you, there's an agreement that that was all correct and generally that factually good information, and it was not brought with any sort of perspective unless you were on the opinion page. And now, those publications are being attacked by the Fox Newses of the world as partisan outlets, and that's just completely false. There is a truth in this country. There's things that are true, that are fact, and the constant kind of attacks on social media, the takeover of the extreme forces on social media, on media platforms is, I believe, what's caused a lot of the issues we have in this country. President Biden and the administration, the Biden-Harris administration, on every measure, has succeeded in the job turnaround and the economic turnaround of this country since they've been in office. Now, is inflation still an issue? Absolutely, but inflation is also partly an issue because large corporations choose to reward their folks and not pass down some of those resources to their workers and to the public. So. The president and the vice president have done a great job for this country. There's still a lot of work to do. Right. And I think it's up to a lot of us to push issues that are important to the public as well at the same time.
Yeah, to me, it just seemed, I don't understand why, you can't acknowledge the things that still have to be done while still acknowledging that he has done a lot of things, and Vice President Harris have done so many things that have made the country already better in major ways, whether it be obviously getting us back into the Paris climate deal, which was a day one accomplishment, the infrastructure legislation, the COVID relief, getting us out of Afghanistan, which people can debate the ways that we did it, but it's something that no president for the last 20 years has had the courage to do, and President Biden followed through on that commitment. So I just wish that people could be more nuanced in terms of acknowledging the things that need to be done, but still giving him credit for all the good things.
Yeah, I totally agree. And look, there's a lot. I mean, he's only been president for a year. There's a lot that needs to get done. But I think that oftentimes I think there's just too much infighting. I think we just got to focus on pushing the administration on the areas where they're not moving fast enough. I think student loan debt is one of those, but also uplifting the good work that's going on, across the country.
I know you're focused on, and as you should be, on your election, on the 2022 race, but obviously there's been a lot of conversation in the public discourse about 2024 and what President Trump might try to do if he runs again, in terms of trying to, plant, election officials in the different states, that might support him next time to overturn the results. Obviously, I know they're talking about reforming the Electoral Count Act. What are you concerned about Trump running again and trying to make some of these, moves for the next time? And what do you think we can do to try to protect ourselves against that?
Well, I mean, of course, I think we should all be very concerned about Trump running again. He was the worst president that we've had as long as I can remember, and completely destructive to the country. Just tore this country apart. Uh, I worry, especially because more than any other authoritarian figure that we've had recently in this country, he's intent on destroying our electoral process and I think democracy itself. I don't think people understand that we are one or two elections away from possibly losing the way we actually conduct elections, because you have a president that cannot actually tell the truth, and cannot help himself from trying to destroy what we know as our political norms around elections. We are actively right now witnessing Republican members of Congress, state legislators, governors, secretaries of state, trying to get ballot drop-off boxes removed from communities, shortening the window or the time to vote, removing voters off the voting rolls in places like Georgia and Florida. So it is an attack on a certain type of person voting, and it is an attack on access to the ballot box. It is not okay that we're still in a country where a voter has to wait in line for 7, 8 hours to vote. We're shrinking the amounts of places where people actually can vote. And even worse, we now know that Donald Trump was involved and active in a plan to encourage the then vice president to overturn the results of the election. And so this is insane stuff. This is crazy stuff. And it's being normalized in a way that I think is really dangerous. And so we have to call it out. One of the reasons why I'm, encouraged to run for Congress is because I feel like I need to be in that fight right now, because I am so just disappointed and disheartened with where a lot of this country is, that we've got to have people out there calling this out every step of the way. And as a longtime educator, I'm really committed to getting back to a point where we're talking about the truth and what's actually factually correct. So Donald Trump must not be allowed anywhere near the presidency again. We should expect that he will run again, which is why we got to do everything we can to make sure that we are successful and support keeping our majorities and supporting, of course, President Biden when he runs for the election.
Absolutely. Only two more questions for you, but one thing I wanted to ask you about, which obviously is relevant to your city and to our whole area right now, is the issue of the mask mandate. Because I actually have no issue wearing a mask. Perfectly fine with me. I think there are places obviously where it makes a lot of sense. But I think the one thing that Janice Hahn, who I know has endorsed your campaign, but who's on the county board of supervisors, is saying is that the fact that during the Super Bowl a lot of people were not wearing the mask as the mask mandate in the county requires, that she feels that by continuing to have the mask mandate in place and not enforcing it, that it sort of eats at the legitimacy and the trust that the local government has with its citizens. How do you feel about that? Do you think it's time for LA County to repeal the mandate?
So I think, I think that right now in Long Beach and in LA County, we took another step today to loosen restrictions on outdoor mask wearing. So that went in place today. I certainly support that decision. I think that the decisions on wearing a mask and when to wear them, should it be indoors, should they not, is left best to the doctors and the scientists. And so I've always leaned on their approach. Not to say that it's not frustrating. I understand. I don't think anybody wants to wear a mask anymore. But I believe, and I'm going to continue to support at least what our local doctors here in the Long Beach Health Department say. I support the mandate as long as they feel we are at a transmission rate where it is not healthy to remove the mask. That being said, I think we're weeks away, and so I think we're at the end of this. And so, should we have removed the mask mandate today for that first step? Absolutely. Right now, I think Los Angeles, Long Beach, maybe parts of the Silicon Valley, San Jose, still have a more restrictive mandate in place for indoor wearing. My guess is if the COVID rates continue falling as quickly as they are right now, we're going to have that mandate lifted here very soon. And it's a matter of weeks, I think, not months. And so, so I think, I feel like we've waited a long time. Let's get past that number. What we don't want to happen, of course, is you remove a mandate and then all of a sudden transmission picks back up and then we're back to square one. So it's a balancing act. I think we're almost there. I think we'll all be happy when we're better and we're past these mandates.
Absolutely. And the final question, how can people support your campaign, or how can people best support your campaign for the next 8 months?
Yeah, I mean, I think if people go to robertgarcia.com, you can sign up for alerts, you can sign up for information, people can donate. All grassroots support is appreciated. And then in the weeks ahead, we'll be putting out information, of course, on how people can knock on doors or make phone calls or get involved. So that will all be on its way. We're really proud to, we've been supported by the Equality Caucus in DC, and so all the LGBTQ plus members, they're really involved in our campaign. The Victory Fund, Equality California. Obviously, there's a lot of national gay groups that are getting engaged in the race, and I'm just really honored to have that support. But it's going to be a good campaign, and I'm excited to go out there and do what we can to, help fix really what I think is a broken system where our democracy is really at risk. So I think we've got to focus on that first and foremost.
Well, you're an exceptional man, and I'm such a fan, and I'm so excited to see you in Congress in less than a year. You're going to do a great job, I have no doubt. So
Thanks,
I'm so
man.
grateful for the time. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you very much,
soon.
and we'll talk soon. Thanks.
Have a good day. Bye. Bye.